Todd Chrisley has an entirely new personality after leaving prison. However, it is not looking like it's a good one. Fans are disappointed in how narcissistic he is coming across now. He has been this way a lot recently. However, this is not the most shocking thing fans have heard about Todd. There is a lot to unfold and uncover when it comes to this situation. Keep reading to find out more about this situation. Todd and Julie Chrisley are now free from prison. They were locked up for 2 years for tax evasion and fraud. However, their daughter, Savannah, fought for their release every day until it happened. Now they are out and trying to adjust to life outside of a cell. This was a huge thing that happened for the Chrisleys. However, since then, Savannah seems to have some resentment towards her family, and fans do not blame her. The new Chrisley show is also coming out soon, which is going to show a different side to the journey, and viewers cannot wait. Savannah seems to be doing everything on her own. It will also show the first time the family reunited with Todd and Julie. Fans are not impressed with Todd Chrisley, as his new personality is coming out. People think that since his release, he has made this his entire personality. However, they also think he is a narcissist. Yikes, this is not a good look for Todd. However, fans are loving Julie post-prison, so at least she is winning fans over. The world once knew Todd Chrisley as the flamboyant, witty, sharply dressed patriarch of Chrisley Knows Best. He was a man who thrived in the spotlight, fed off the applause of an audience, and carefully curated his image as a Southern gentleman with a sharp tongue and an even sharper eye for luxury. But after walking out of prison, observers, and even those closest to him, have begun to whisper the same haunting truth. Todd Chrisley is no longer the man he once was. His new personality is colder, harsher, and carries an edge that no amount of charm can polish away. Freedom was supposed to be a triumph for Todd, a fresh start after a turbulent downfall. Instead, it has revealed a man whose demeanor seems unrecognizable compared to the bold, charismatic figure America thought it knew. The shadows of confinement prison is never just a sentence. It is a transformation. Todd entered confinement with defiance, convinced he would weather the storm with his signature style and resilience. Yet months away from the life he adored, the lights, the cameras, the constant hum of admiration took its toll. The sharp banter that once made him a fan favorite has dulled into biting cynicism. His once constant humor now feels laced with bitterness. Behind closed doors, Todd is said to keep to himself more than ever, often retreating into silence. Where he once orchestrated every moment as if it were a performance, he now observes with suspicion, as though the world owes him an apology for what he endured. Prison stripped away the sparkle, leaving a man who views relationships and trust through a lens of caution and resentment. Family tension at an all-time high. The Chrisley family was never short on drama. But Todd's return has shifted the balance in unsettling ways. He had always been the commanding presence, the anchor around which the family dynamic revolved. Now his control has turned rigid, almost militant. The patience he once faked for the cameras is gone, replaced with blunt judgment and impatience. Family gatherings that used to be chaotic but lighthearted are now heavy with tension. Every word, every glance carries the weight of his new demeanor. Where laughter once filled the room, silence now dominates, as if everyone fears saying the wrong thing. His children, who once adored the sparkle of their father's larger-than-life personality, struggle to recognize the man before them. Instead of the doting yet sarcastic father they grew up with, they face a man hardened by bitterness, quick to criticize and slow to forgive. The bonds that once felt unbreakable are fraying, and even the cameras that once documented their closeness cannot disguise the new cracks in the foundation. The public versus the private. Todd Chrisley always lived for perception. His life was a carefully staged production, from his perfectly pressed suits to the extravagant homes that became the backdrop of Chrisley Knows Best. Public admiration validated him. But the man who stepped out of prison seems indifferent to what anyone thinks. Fans expecting a triumphant return to television and social media found instead a colder, more abrasive presence. His once carefully crafted public statements are now blunt, stripped of polish. He no longer plays the role of the entertainer. Instead, he carries himself as if the world failed him, and he refuses to mask his disdain. Privately, this shift has left those around him unsettled. The man who once thrived on community and family connection now avoids the very spotlight he once craved. He seems to carry the prison walls with him, isolating himself within emotional barriers, even thicker than the physical ones he left behind. A reputation on the line for years, Todd's reputation was his empire. He built a brand around his wit, style, and sense of authority as the king of his family. His downfall through legal battles and incarceration fractured that image, but many believed he would rise again. Yet his new personality threatens whatever redemption story he might have hoped for. Instead of rebuilding his legacy, his sharpness and detachment are driving supporters away. Former fans whisper that the charm is gone, replaced by arrogance and resentment. Even in the world of reality television, where controversy often fuels success, Todd's transformation feels less like entertainment and more like a tragedy unfolding in real time. The strain of lost control at the heart of Todd's transformation is the one thing he has always hated most: loss of control. Prison robbed him of the ability to dictate his own narrative. For the first time in decades, he was not the man in charge, not the one directing the spotlight. That loss still lingers, manifesting in a desperate need to reclaim authority in every aspect of his post-prison life. This newfound dominance often feels more like tyranny. Conversations become confrontations, disagreements spiral into accusations, and what used to be lighthearted family banter now feels like a battlefield. The man who once built his empire on control now wields it like a weapon, driving wedges instead of building bridges. Relationships under fire. Todd's marriage has been strained under the weight of his transformation. The bond that once seemed unshakable has cracked, as his new demeanor tests patience and resilience. Where there was once partnership, there is now distance. The easy laughter, the mutual admiration, the chemistry that fueled their presence both on and off screen, all of it feels buried beneath his hardened exterior. His relationships with his children are equally challenged. They once relied on him for guidance, even when it came with sharp sarcasm. Now, the guidance feels more like judgment, the affection more like obligation. Every interaction seems shadowed by the prison walls that never left his mind. A future in doubt. Todd's new personality raises questions about his future, both personally and professionally. Can he rebuild the empire he once ruled with pride? Or has prison altered him too deeply for redemption? The reality television world thrives on spectacle. But even spectacle requires charisma, and Todd's seems to have evaporated. The idea of a Chrisley comeback once seemed inevitable, but now, with tension mounting inside the family and his demeanor alienating fans, that future feels uncertain. Networks and producers may hesitate to gamble on a man whose appeal has been replaced with bitterness. The tragic irony, the greatest irony of Todd Chrisley's transformation is that his prison sentence was supposed to be temporary. But the effects appear permanent. The man who once insisted he would return stronger now seems trapped in a different kind of cell, one built from anger, distrust, and bitterness. The flamboyant patriarch has become a hardened figure, unrecognizable to those who once adored him. Prison may have taken his freedom for a time, but it has stolen something far more permanent: the essence of the man he once was. Conclusion. A legacy rewritten. Todd Chrisley's story has always been dramatic, but this new chapter is perhaps the most sobering. The man who once commanded attention with charisma and humor now commands it with tension and unease. His new personality is not just a change, it is a warning of how deeply hardship can reshape the human spirit. The Todd Chrisley who walked into prison was flawed but familiar. The Todd Chrisley who walked out is unfamiliar, unpredictable, and unsettling. His legacy, once marked by laughter and luxury, now risks being defined by bitterness and estrangement. In the end, freedom may have released him from physical walls, but it has not released him from the psychological ones. Todd Chrisley has changed, and for many who loved the man he once was, the change is not good.